How's it going, everyone? It's Sam. Today I want to talk to you about the sad truth of the crypto market here today and why some people will lose money, why some people will make money. I'm going to talk to you about some of the stuff that I've done wrong in the past. I want to cover some of the top news today too, from states trying to adopt Bitcoin as legal tender to the SEC approving blockchain technology to other pieces of news that we have to cover too. If you guys don't mind hitting the like button and subscribe button, I appreciate that. There is a link down there too to BlockFi, so you can get an interest rate on your cryptocurrencies here. I use it myself. I have a significant amount of stablecoin on there and some cryptocurrencies too, and they'll give you up to $250 when you sign up using that link. Now, why are we in such a sideways market? Because right now, we have gone up a little bit from just a few days ago. We were at 33,000 on Bitcoin. We've popped up to 37. We're kind of just sitting in this area though, from about 35 to 38, just going back and forth. We're up, down 2%, 3% every single day. And that is really because we are moving in tandem with stocks. That's why we've fallen down so much over the last month in crypto. And then we have just kind of stayed sideways over the last few days. Bitcoin's correlation with US tech stocks has reached a new record. So comparing the Nasdaq 100 to Bitcoin, they have the highest correlation that they've had since 2010. So you can see about 0.66. So we are basically just waiting on the macro economy or for equities to move up, for cryptocurrencies to move up. We know that when Bitcoin moves up, most other cryptos also move up. So one of the sad truths is that we're just kind of waiting. A lot of people are worried about the Fed tightening. They're worried about the uncertainty moving forward. And I will show you in a moment some actual things that are happening behind the scenes, some of the fundamentals that are getting stronger. But what we're seeing now is that the fundamentals are getting stronger and stronger for cryptocurrencies, but people are still worried about the day-to-day, about the next couple months. So we aren't seeing a massive increase in price, because sometimes these things just aren't going in tandem. Fundamentals and price don't always go in tandem. That's why people actually make significant amounts of money, because they are willing to take bets when they see things going well, but the price doesn't reflect that. Now, Nasdaq price itself has pretty much crashed, $210 at the end of the year, and we've come down about 19.3%. So this is literally a crash, and we have come up a little bit. We do have some big earnings this week. AMD, UPS, PayPal, Alphabet, also known as Google, Facebook, Meta, Spotify, Waste Management. A lot of the companies that are in the Nasdaq are announcing this week. So this is a huge week for earnings. I would say this is the biggest week for all of earnings. So this could be a big week for cryptocurrencies. If the Nasdaq pops up, it could very well be possible that people start putting more money into cryptocurrencies, because they do think of it as a higher risk, higher reward investment, I think, for the most part, compared to something like the Nasdaq. Now, we have that line of thinking from Wall Street. We also have some information here on what the ultra wealthy are investing in 2022. So this is a report, and it's from Tiger 21, a peer-to-peer learning network for investors and entrepreneurs with 10 million to 1 billion of personal net worth. So they lay out some of their top investments. So they're really focusing on inflation-resistant portfolios, and that makes sense. If you have $50 million, or let's say $10 million in an account, and we're facing 7% inflation, that's $700,000 a year that they're losing to inflation. So they need to be in assets that are going to hold up versus inflation. So a couple of the things that they're looking at: real estate, always a pretty good buy. Just not going to be as explosive as something like a stock or a crypto, and less liquid for sure, but it is pretty steady. You can figure out how much money you should be making over the coming years. Public equities like Amazon, Apple, Airbnb, customer staples, and streaming services, and then cryptocurrencies. So they say that they're planning on doubling their crypto investments. As an alternative to investing in gold to combat inflation, Tiger members have doubled their investment in cryptocurrencies. They're putting more money into Ethereum, Bitcoin, a crypto fund, other coins, and Dogecoin. So they break down the percentages there, and it's pretty interesting that a lot of them are investing in Ethereum. I mean, these are very smart people. Some of them have teams of people that are researching for them, and they see a huge potential in Ethereum. Now, whether that's because of Ethereum 2.0, whether it is because of all the DeFi applications of Ethereum, I'm not exactly sure. I'm sure Bitcoin in their mind is safer than Ethereum, but also not going to have as much growth. So maybe they are overall thinking cryptos are a pretty risky investment compared to real estate and equities. So they might as well go for something that's going to grow a little bit more in Ethereum. Now, I think Ethereum does have that huge upgrade, hopefully midway through the year, to Ethereum 2.0, which is going to change Ethereum. Of course, we are going to see a huge unlock, so we might see a lot of volatility around that time. But I think once we see the date for that, and once it's very clear that's going to happen at a specific time, I think Ethereum will be explosive. They are investing in a crypto fund, probably just to decrease risk by exposing themselves to a number of other assets. And then, of course, there are going to be other coins. And then Dogecoin. It's interesting that Dogecoin is the third largest on this list among named cryptocurrencies. We have large investors, very wealthy investors, investing into cryptocurrencies in a significant proportion to what they've invested in the past, doubling their positions. And maybe part of that is because we do see the landscape changing. Like, for example, yesterday, Arizona considers making Bitcoin legal tender. Now, I think you have to read a little bit deeper into this, because everything on Twitter is just going to say, hey, Arizona's trying to make Bitcoin legal tender, and this is great. But you have to realize that this is more of a symbolistic thing that they're doing. They say even if the bill becomes a law in Arizona, it's unlikely to have much impact on usage of Bitcoin in the state. Arizona could certainly pass a law like this, and the state government could choose to accept Bitcoin as payment for Arizona taxes, but this would not change the legal treatment of Bitcoin as property from a federal tax perspective. I also don't think such a law would obligate Arizonans to accept Bitcoin in a constitutionally acceptable way. So this is going to make them more of a crypto-friendly state, as they say, but it's not going to necessarily enforce that they have to accept crypto like in El Salvador. We do have other countries that are still looking at adopting it too, with Tonga and possibly Turkey. But right now in the US, I still think it's pretty far off to actually happening here. Now, we did get some interesting news from the SEC that they approved BSTX for blockchain settlements on traditional markets. The future of the stock market is probably moving over to the blockchain because of faster settlement times for cheaper transactions, stuff like that. But we've been slowly moving that way, and this is, I think, a nice step in the right direction. They received regulatory approval from the United States Securities and Exchange Commission to operate as a blockchain-based securities exchange. They originally sought approval for launching publicly traded registered security tokens. However, the SEC approval to operate as a national securities exchange allows BSTX to use blockchain technology for faster settlement times in traditional markets. They can't use this for the trading of digital tokens, and they can't use it for any additional use of blockchain technology. But I think this is a step in the right direction, where the SEC is approving something that's blockchain based for securities. That's great. That's maybe a little bit pie in the sky with Arizona accepting Bitcoin as legal tender, or even the whole equities market moving over to the blockchain, but this is not pie in the sky at all. These are companies that made public announcements that they're exploring the metaverse. They're putting money into the metaverse. Obviously, Nike, Meta, Sony, Apple, Puma, Nvidia, Disney, Adidas, Walmart, Samsung, Microsoft, Warner Music, and Brooklyn Nets. And the list goes on. There are new companies every single day that are announcing that they are trying to get into the metaverse in some way. We've seen a handful of restaurants too, also saying that they're getting into NFTs. And we do have, because of all this excitement in the metaverse, we do have Fidelity that's seeking approval for 2 more crypto metaverse ETFs. So they want to be the provider for some of these ETFs. And we keep on seeing the SEC say no to the spot ETF for Bitcoin, but eventually some of these ETFs will be approved. And I think it will cause a lot more money to flow into cryptos over time. Now, we also have one other thing that is just cold hard facts, and that's that Bitcoin surpassed American Express in annual transaction volume. So Bitcoin did $3 trillion of transaction volume last year. They also beat American Express and Discover combined almost 2 times over. They're still below MasterCard and Visa, but they are contributing a lot to the annual transaction volumes. So right now we have a couple things out on the horizon that are possible good news events. We have some things that are happening right now that are just showing huge adoption. So for example, last year Bitcoin grew almost 4x in total transaction volume. We do have a lot of companies jumping in, but the fact is we're not moving up in price because there is kind of a risk-off scenario right now in the macro environment. If you look, maybe not over the next few months, but you look a couple of years out, or 5-10 years out, that's how you really make significant amounts of money. That's what people did with Tesla. That's what people did with cryptocurrencies. And I think that's what we have to do here today. If you're someone that can stomach the volatility, then this is actually a pretty good time to be buying long term. Now, of course, we could always fall down more. I think that is another harsh truth that a lot of people don't understand. But if you're sitting here thinking, hey, I'm just going to take all my money out, I've already fallen down enough, we're not doing anything now, I think that could be a mistake. Now, of course, this isn't financial advice. I can't give that. I don't care what you do with your money. All I know is that I'm not selling at this point. Definitely not selling now that we're down 50 plus percent, because I do see a huge potential for cryptocurrencies in the future. And I think we're seeing adoption and we're seeing fundamentals increase and get better, but we're not necessarily seeing the price increase just because of the macro environment. That is a short-term problem, not necessarily a long-term problem. I think if you're someone that's trading, great, go take your money, do whatever you want with it. If you're someone that's looking for long-term asset appreciation and long-term investing opportunities, crypto is a great place to invest. That's just my opinion. I'm also looking at some other stocks that I think are beaten down and some that I just have to allocate more towards because they have too bright a future. I think overall right now, you make a lot of money when stocks and cryptos are down. You just don't see it for a little while, right? That's the best time to be buying, and that's the situation we're sitting in now. We almost went a year back in price, and the fundamentals have gotten so much stronger since then. So let me know your thoughts on this underneath the video. Do you think that the sad truth is that we just have to wait around for the Nasdaq to go up in price? I think that is the truth, at least until some big event happens in cryptocurrency. Like I said, we do have some earnings, so maybe some new company buys it. I don't know. It's seeming a little bit unlikely at this point, but definitely a possibility always. So let me know your thoughts on this underneath the video. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.